¿A dónde está papi? 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 ¿A dónde está papi?
Welcome to the Monday stream. I hope everyone's having an awesome Monday. Welcome, everybody. Cosmic Seeking, Michael Hassler. How's it going, everybody? -3, and today was +13. Sheesh. Yeah, it's pretty cold, and it's going to get even colder here. It's going to get very, very cold. Even South Florida is going to experience quite the chill. All right, there was a video that I wanted to start off with today. Let's see if I can get that queued up first. How's it going, everybody? Alio with the 10 biddies. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. How are you doing? I'm hanging in there. Here it is. Sweet. All right. Let's see if I got everything ready. News. I watched the January 6th thing today. How long was that? Oh, this was about an hour. Two and a half hours? Sheesh. Yeah, we'll talk about like some of that in just a moment. On that note, well, just to give you like a preview, the the January 6th committee seems to have recommended some criminal charge or some criminal investigations to the DOJ. We'll see if any of that if anything comes out of that. Four major crimes? Sheesh. Well, you mean like the referral took about an hour? Maybe final public meeting.
Joe Biden would win Arizona.
Okay, time out. This is a
fraud claims and the fake electoral ballots to say that Mike Pence, presiding over the joint session, could reject legitimate electoral votes.
Gotcha. No, this one's like 3 hours. Lots of individuals are in the crosshairs. Yeah, I mean, if they committed crimes, absolutely they should be referred to the DOJ. All right, so first up, I think just for the good memes, just for the good memes. Elon Musk did a poll asking the Twitter sends, as he refers to the people who use Twitter, should he step down as head of Twitter? And according to him, he will abide by the results of the poll. And 17 million. Yep. I think this was a good meme in and of itself. Most owners are silent owners. I don't like, meaning like most CEOs are in the background. Quiet, maybe. I voted for him to step down. Same. Same. That was a good meme. All right. Let's start off with this video.
And others like it are made possible by the generous support of my patrons on Patreon. If you'd like to get early access to every video, plus access to our patrons-only Discord server, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. There's a good chance you've heard about the rail worker strike recently, and if the place you've been hearing about it has been CNN, you're probably a bit confused.
A rail strike is one of the most disruptive and expensive things that can happen to an economy.
A rail shutdown or strike would disrupt supply chains.
A strike means food prices could skyrocket.
Many experts are saying would be an economic catastrophe.
That could mean a big shortage and massive price hikes. Even gas prices could increase.
And it also cost the economy $1 billion within the first week.
That would cripple the economy.
Oh,
I'm not
no.
setting aside the concerns of your members, but are you and your members willing to stop the rails, in effect, and accept those costs to the U.S. economy?
Do you believe a strike is worth it if it cripples the U.S. economy and costs up to $2 billion a day?
More than $2 billion per day.
Is it worth it?
And on top of all of that, the holidays are right around the corner.
So a little less than a month right before Christmas here.
Especially right before the holidays.
President Biden warning, if that happened, it would devastate the economy if we had a strike like that. So joining me now to talk about this and a lot more is Bank of America. It's Brian Moynihan, Chairman and CEO, one of the biggest banks in the world.
For the past few weeks, networks like CNN have been running stories on the strike like the ones I just showed you, and framing it in, let's say, less than favorable terms. What, by all accounts, should be a story about the rail industry making a record $20 billion profit by laying off 30% of its workforce over 6 years, and refusing those that remain the right to any guaranteed paid sick days, has been turned into a story about a hostage situation threatening to tear down the entire economy and also Christmas. Although CNN's reporting never directly maligns the strikers, the subtext of their framing is clearly that rail workers are either too dumb, too selfish, or too stubborn to recognize the consequences of this strike. It centers the story around the strike itself, emphasizing the consequences of the strike over its causes, and inviting the viewer to do their own cost-benefit analysis to decide whether rail workers are being too demanding. And if you haven't watched TV recently, coverage like this might seem a bit strange coming from CNN, a network that's usually considered relatively quote-unquote left-leaning by most Americans. Left-leaning, almost everywhere in the world, means siding with workers against capital, not making them out to be economy-destroying villains. But like a lot of the American media landscape, CNN has shifted further to the right, and they're openly admitting it. Earlier this year, CNN's parent company...
True. This is like why, it's so frustrating to hear it, like, the comments regarding, like, the workers. I don't give a shit about the fucking economy, dude. That's not the story. The story is that these railroad companies are mistreating their workers. These railroad companies are making record profits and refusing to give some basic shit to their workers. I don't give a shit if it's like around election time. I don't give a shit about the fucking consequences to the economy. If that was if there was a situation where the railroad workers would have ended up striking, like a wildcat strike or anything like that, we must remember that it's the railroad companies who are to blame here. Spread it forward. How's it going? It's the railroad companies who would have been to blame. If you're complaining about like the billions of dollars of damage to the economy, blame the railroad companies who couldn't be bothered to give these workers basic shit. Drew. CNN is corporate news network right now. Yeah, I mean, these are like mainstream, like art, like news. Like, understand that when we go over, when we go over stuff like this, like all of this is mostly like mainstream news. We have to understand that there's going to be a skew here. Yeah. Oh, by the way, you just reminded me, Alio. Apparently, apparently these Trump NFTs are fake. I mean, like, an NFT is like as fake, like, you know, as fake as a product as it gets. But on top of that, the actual Trump NFTs are like super they're fake on top of fake, because the art seems to have been used without proper licensing, and in some cases some people haven't even gotten the Trump cards even after paying. Sadly, only CBS admitted Paramount and other companies are owned by 6 subsidiaries. Yeah, you mean like there's like, you know, a smaller and smaller concentration of companies that own like a lot of the media space? Yeah, that's true.
It merged to become Warner Brothers Discovery. This merger means a lot of things, not the least of which being that American media has become even more monopolized. But most importantly, it has meant a shift in strategy. CNN is moving away from its reputation as a liberal outlet towards a more clearly centrist position. Since the merger, many of the more openly liberal personalities on CNN have left, been fired, or had their shows canceled. And the new CEO recently said that, quote, "At a time where extremes are dominating cable news, we will seek to go a different way." And, quote, "We are truth tellers, focused on informing, not alarming our viewers. There needs to be room for nuance." This kind of rhetoric is pretty well known at this point. It's a thinly veiled implication that the far right and far left are equally bad and dishonest, and that the center is not. And combined with the staff changes, it's clear that CNN is trying to signal to its audience that it has given up on its liberal watchdog reputation now that the Trump years are over. And it's working. In a recent poll for Variety, around 40% of viewers detected either a right-wing or a centrist shift in CNN's reporting. So,
it's not unfair to categorize CNN as right-wing propaganda. In fact, 90% of media is right-wing, has right-wing bias and fundamentally right-wing oriented. It's no wonder they're stacking up to the boot of capitalists and shaming laborers to forgo sick leave. Right. Right. Because, like, I mean, if you want, like, I know that, like, throwing labels around and whatnot sometimes can get a little annoying, but, like, generally, like, even at the most basic level, a left-leaning perspective by default should be in favor of labor and against capital. That's just like, I mean, the basic kind of deal, right? If you have like a left-wing publication that's trying to kind of spin a labor dispute in a way that ends up benefiting capital, then that's not really a left-leaning perspective, is it? What is the guy's name? Licht? I don't know. This guy?
what's going on here? For starters, we need to make a few things clear about the way the media operates in this country.
We tell ourselves stories.
Media institutions, including CNN for example, don't usually outright lie. That's not to say there have never been any cases of news media spreading lies, and there are obvious counterexamples of media all too happy to fabricate news stories like InfoWars or Breitbart. But generally speaking, when it comes to accurate reporting, most established media institutions in this country are reliable-ish. They deliver some facts, and when they make mistakes, they're typically quickly corrected. There is no conspiracy of misinformation coming from large media institutions like what the label fake news implies, nor is there a secret cabal of globalists lying to the public like the far-right claims. But that's not to say they're blameless. What they do have is limitations. News media has limitations that carry incredibly important consequences. Some of these limitations are obvious physical constraints you'd see in any industry, like geographical location and logistics, time, or staff size, while some others are ideological and come from things like the editorial guidelines and the media's ownership. And still others are conditioned by a more structural factor, the framework of liberalized, market-driven news. These limitations do not lead news institutions to lie, at least usually not deliberately, but what they do instead is act like filters on the news that gets disseminated. No news outlet could possibly report on everything going on, and it could certainly never do so quickly with the level of precision and accuracy that you get with a months-long investigation, for example. So what makes it through, what gets emphasized, and what actually becomes the news depends on the effect of these limitations, a lot of which ultimately direct most successful media institutions down a very similar path. the path of reinforcing capitalist hegemony. In other words, most news networks have an easier time siding with capitalists than they do with workers and the anti-capitalist left. And if you look at the media landscape today, that's pretty clear. There's simply no news network on TV that has both the reach of a CNN or a Fox-type news channel and promotes an explicitly anti-capitalist or even a simply pro-labor agenda. While left-wing outlets exist, the news networks that dominate the media landscape are those that either tacitly or explicitly reinforce capitalist ideology, both on the liberal and the conservative side. And that's for a couple different reasons. In their book Manufacturing Consent, Noam Chomsky and Edward Herman identify the 5 big filters on the news in this country. 1. The size, concentrated ownership, owner wealth, and profit orientation of the dominant mass media firms. 2. Advertising as the primary income source of the mass media. 3. The reliance of the media on information provided by government, business, and experts funded and approved by these primary sources and agents of power. 4. Flack as a means of disciplining the media. And 5. Anti-communism as a national religion and control mechanism. To quickly clarify these points, what Chomsky and Herman identify here is that costs, income, ease of access to information, and public criticism all have a filtering effect on the news that is reported. If a news network is too heavily criticized by the public, by its advertisers, by its owners, or has trouble...
Second Thought is the closest left-wing media outlet on the internet that carries itself seriously. Yeah, I mean, Second Thought does like a lot of work when it comes to left-wing media. They're just nowhere near, like, there is no like massive left-wing apparatus that is purely that is purely like completely left-wing,
collecting funds and or
not to the size of like your CNNs or whatnot.
Information from its sources, it might fail as a business, regardless of whether it's doing a good job of delivering information accurately and fairly. All those different things can be affected by either good or bad reporting. That's not what decides the survival of the business. What must be prioritized in a capitalist economy is profitability in the case of private news networks, or simply survival in the case of non-profit news networks. And you can pretty easily imagine how this might work. An accurate story that gets the network hate mail, accusations of communist sympathy, causes advertisers to pull out, makes the stock price drop, and or results in owners threatening to sell either won't make it to the network in the first place or will be a fluke that the network won't want to try again. If a news network wants to achieve the kinds of viewership that CNN does, it can't be worried about bankruptcy every week. Profits need to come first, and therefore the best, most durable strategy demands that
the line must go up. That is the only acceptable outcome. The line must go up.
News media either offer only a lukewarm challenge to the established capitalist order,
True,
or champion it outright by calling any progressive social movement communism and demonizing it to the ends of the earth. And it's not just a theory. What we're seeing in real time is how some of these filters are actively affecting CNN's coverage and pulling it from an already mainstreamed, capitalist-aligned position to an even more complacent stance at the behest of a more reactionary capitalist class. The first place to look to understand this is the recent merger of CNN's parent company. The new merger between Warner and Discovery actually came with some sizable financial concerns. That's because, on the one hand, Warner Bros. Discovery has about $59 billion worth of debt, and on the other, CNN is just not raking in the numbers it used to. Everyone has their theory as to why the numbers aren't good, whether it's news fatigue, an aging audience more receptive to conservative coverage, the fact that a younger audience more inclined to progressive politics just doesn't watch cable, or something else entirely. Regardless, what is clear is that in order to survive, CNN has to cater to its audience, like any business does. And that's different from delivering accurate, complete information. In that Variety survey I cited earlier, not only did viewers notice the tonal shift, but most of them actually welcomed it, to the point where CNN is even capturing some of Fox's audience. Now, that's all well and good for CNN, but satisfying audiences by firing controversial anchors who make true statements, like John Harwood, who correctly states...
Yeah, that's literally why they don't like socialism, because line slows down and begins to stagnate. The line must go up. In communism, line disappears, and that scares the shit out of them. They need to see that they need to see... Yes, true. Infinite growth is the only acceptable way.
That Trump lied about the 2020 election being stolen.
The line goes up in perpetuity. At no point must the line go down. Do you understand?
And played a decisive role in the Capitol riot only makes the news more pleasant to watch for a conservative audience, not more accurate. And it makes sense that this is how CNN decided to tackle its audience problem. Part of the new executive team, specifically this guy, Liberty Media chairman John Malone, who sits on the Discovery board of directors, has gone on the record praising Fox News recently, saying, quote, Fox News, in my opinion, has followed an interesting trajectory of trying to have some actual journalism, embedded in a program schedule of all opinions. Now, he's just one guy. But seeing the trajectory CNN has taken, it's clear that either his voice or those of people with similar beliefs carry enough weight to move the network to the right. And this kind of shift has a serious effect. It's mainstreaming the far right.
Your car's headlight bulbs can use up to 50 feet of visibility before burnout.
Shh. It's okay.
Trying to position itself at the center, it's doing so without acknowledging that the political center has shifted. Since Trump's reconfiguration of the Republican Party into a more demagogic far-right politics, and Biden's decision to keep much of Trump's legacy intact under his own term, the Overton window has moved dramatically to the right, and therefore, so has our public discourse, which media institutions participate in shaping. It's not simply the case that media outlets frame stories the way they do, with the kind of villainization we've seen with the strike. It's that they decide what counts as a story in the first place. Over the past 10 years or so, that kind of decision power has meant more coverage of terrorist attacks, immigration, and other topics that cater to a more reactionary way of thinking and result in mass panics over things that are either innocuous, like the amount of immigration in this country, or extremely rare. While liberal and conservative outlets may treat these topics very differently, they both treat them as though it is consensus that it deserves to be talked about at all. Like the authors of the book Reactionary Democracy write, the media does not tell us what to think, but what to think about. In our current media landscape, the right's concerns are heavily platformed, and those of the left aren't. And the most telling example of this probably has to be the moral panic over critical race theory last year. For a while, every news outlet was covering the topic. While Fox was clearly leading the charge and doing so with the most hysteria, other news networks joined in. To not address it would be to ignore what another network had already deemed newsworthy. So what choice did they really have? Steer clear of the topic, and thousands of angry conservatives would have poured into their emails with threats of sympathizing with the radical left. CRT became a topic of conversation, and everyone needed to take a stance on it, or at least give credence to the idea that it's an important thing. But the thing is that the whole issue had been completely manufactured out of thin air. CRT is a real thing, don't get me wrong, but it's a relatively niche field of academic study. That is until Chris Rufo, a fellow at the hyper-conservative Manhattan Institute think tank, just decided one day that the right should be in a state of moral panic over a few mismanaged anti-racism seminars. And so began an incredibly successful—
Yeah, this guy, by the way, incredibly dangerous. Fuck this guy. I saw even Florida's getting freezing temps. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I'm hoping, well, from what I understand, the pipes here are insulated. So I'm under the assumption that no, we're not going to be like Texas. Not in this house. Not in this house. I'm under the impression that the insulation in these pipes should prevent them from freezing. That's what I understand. That being said, it wouldn't necessarily hurt to run the lines a little bit.
Full media strategy. One that would generalize the text material of a couple books no one was being forced to read that contain relatively uncontroversial statements about the legacy of hundreds of years of slavery, segregation, and racial capitalism, and turn it into a woke plot to corrupt white children's minds and topple America. Rufo himself admitted this was the whole point. Writing on Twitter, the goal is to have the public read something crazy in the newspaper and immediately think critical race theory. We have decodified the term and will recodify it to annex the entire range of cultural constructions that are unpopular with Americans.
Yeah, like, see, this is wild because, like, you know, they're telling you this in a very public way. This is public. And they're just telling you, like, no, dude, listen. We actually don't give a shit about this. The goal is to have the public read something crazy in the newspaper and then tie it to critical race theory, whatever. It doesn't have to be CRT. To tie it to whatever it is, and of course this was all the rage. We have decodified this term. Decodified. Oh man. They're just flat out telling you. Especially if you have copper pipes, you want to make sure the insulation is sufficient. How do I do that? That's actually now you're making me think, spread it forward. How does one do this? How does one do this? And like the thread, the tweet on top gives you even more context. I have no hot water because the pipes froze because hot water got shut off. Sheesh. Yikes. I'm sorry to hear that, Echo Resto Dragon. Yikes. We're expected to get some wild temperatures this upcoming week. Like, the only thing that worries me would be if the power goes out. Then, if it does, that starts to get a little spicy. For more context, the tweet above the thread is, quote, "We have successfully frozen their brand, CRT, into the public conversation and are steadily driving up negative perceptions." So they're like pumping this on purpose to inflate the problem, the perceived problem, and we will eventually turn it toxic. In other words, it wasn't. It had to be blown up into this. It had to be put in this light. It had to be, his words, not mine, recodified to be toxic. The implication being that it wasn't. You had to turn it toxic. Even though I left it running, hopefully it's supposed to be above freezing soon. Sheesh. Sorry to hear that, fam. Check wherever you can see water piping from the main into, and if you have any lines in the garage or attic, you can see if they're covered or not. You want to disconnect any water hoses and drain the water, and shut off any exterior lines to spigots. Okay, so shut off any exterior lines. So anything that's outside should be off. Gotcha. If your sink is on an exterior wall, you'll want to keep the cabinets underneath open and exposed inside your home for air. Gotcha. I think ours is, the kitchen is, the sink is kind of like in the middle, if that makes sense. It's like in the middle. There's like a open wall like that. It's like the sink is like poop right there. It's not like attached to the wall, so to speak. Okay, so I'm gonna just disconnect any hoses and shut off anything that's not. Everything should be shut off. If you have any lines in the garage or attic, you can just see if they're covered or not. I mean, I can see the water lines, I think. I'll have to like double check to make sure that that's what I'm actually looking at. So then you're kind of fine. Yeah, I'll try to keep the house as warm as possible. It's just like, if the power goes out, that's where it gets a little spicy. So just for context, I'm in North Georgia, so it's gonna get spicy here. If when it starts getting very cold, I would just start a small drip or a small stream. Gotcha. That's like on every faucet, right? Because like I heard that if your pipes aren't like insulated, or you think that they could get frozen, because that could be a big problem. You would have to open up. Is it all the faucets or just like a couple of them? Mainly hot water. Gotcha. No, I'm not a Florida man anymore. Out of the frying pan and into the fire. Yes, every faucet, make sure you do it a little more than you think, because when it freezes, the pressure changes so a drip can come to a stop. Gotcha. Gotcha. All right. Here we go. Oh man, this weekend is gonna be wild. I had that and it got turned and lost pressure. Sheesh. That's wild. I've never seen weather like this, so all this advice is much needed and much appreciated. Yeah, prevention is key, because I understood, well, I understand that if your pipes freeze, it could be bad. Welcome to the New World Order. Oh no. Out of the frying pan and into the fire, huh? I mean, like, I was checking the weather for South Florida. Even South Florida is gonna be like 40 degrees. That's just wild. It's 28 degrees where you're at right now. Sheesh. Right now it is about 40, low 40s. Find some foam or old sheets or anything and wrap up your outdoor faucets, and cardboard can help too. Gotcha. I don't think I have, well, I have like a hose connector outside, like a spigot, I guess. I have two, I want to say. One of them isn't working, so it's shut off right now, and one of them does work. Have been in the single digits the last couple of nights. Sheesh. That's rough. Those can freeze as well. Turning them off and opening them up to drain is ideal. Definitely make sure the hoses are disconnected. Yeah. Okay, that's something I'm gonna have to do, like, probably as soon as I get out of here, because that's freaking me out. Sheesh. By the way, ground level news. Do you do you do streaming, don't you? You do? Cool. Let me give you a free a quick shout out. OTG mostly, but some studio stuff. All right. Trying to find this other Chris Rufo tweet that kind of just really shows what we're dealing with here. I cover social justice issues, focusing on housing and unsheltered crisis in my city. That's awesome. Here we are. It's still up, by the way. This tweet is still up. All right. Let me give you a quick shout out. Folks, if you have a second, consider going to twitch.tv/groundlevelnews. Go check them out. Also, go to twitch.tv/AlioShare, who's also in chat. But yeah, so Chris Rufo, where were we? Yeah, massive piece of shit. The goal is to have public read something crazy in the newspaper and immediately think critical race theory. So, like, there isn't even an attempt. Like, there isn't even an attempt, to like rationalize any of this, right? It's the whole play on the feels thing. It's to play on the whole feels thing, because every time you read something crazy in the news, this guy wants you to think critical race theory with is it? I don't know. But he tells you immediately that the point is to decodify this term and recodify it to mean what I want people to think about, the entire range of cultural constructions that are unpopular with Americans, whatever that means. And to piggyback off like people like Chris Rufo who started all this craze, I'll remind you that this tweet, which was done just a couple of months ago, July 1st of 2022, so that we can just kind of put this little like Chris Rufo arc, all like just kind of tie it nice and neat in a little bow tie. Check this out. The internet has a very short memory span, so I like to bring out some stuff from the past from time to time, and I screenshot it and keep it. You know, make sure that you can't just delete this and people forget about it. So let's just go back a little couple months ago. to tie it all together. Quote, this is Chris Rufo's tweet where he's very proud of his upcoming policy work, as he gives us a little teaser as to what he's on about. Quote, expand on this campaign for the next time a Republican assumes the presidency as we approach 2024. I will be publishing a policy paper on, quote, eliminating left-wing ideologies in the federal government, using the power of the presidency to fundamentally reshape the bureaucracy with a 6-part program targeting budget, content, personnel, grant-making, and oversight. The idea is to centralize ideological control over the federal agencies in the White House and create a team at the Office of Management and Budget to enforce it. We could easily wipe out a significant portion of the infrastructure for left-wing ideologies within the federal bureaucracy. Yes, very known left-wing ideologies within the federal government. This is known and true. This is known and true. We could easily wipe out a significant portion of the infrastructure for left-wing ideology within the federal bureaucracy and within the network of federal grantees and contractors, which would shift American politics in the right direction. Yeah, if this isn't ringing all the alarm bells, I don't know what is. James Napper, how's it going? I'm not really sure how to feel about the video on just now. On one hand, I'm familiar with the core thesis of it. I've read a number of books on the media framing and biases, but on the other hand, over time, I've become more familiar with the way citizens respond to information. The issue with the video is that I would argue that it falls into a common trap. It assumes that the flaws and raptures of society have origins in the media consumed, whereas I would argue the flaws exist as small cracks all the time in the form of partisan alignment, values, and groups and norms. The media is both a reflection of that and an amplifier of that existing effect. To put it simply, I don't believe the media existing in a certain way creates social division. Well, he's not arguing that. He's arguing that media is shifting it to a more and more right-wing perspective, and he's using CNN as like an example as to how that shift is going on, with the goal, I think, to explain or to provide an example of how something like the ratchet effect it works. I think social division exists in the media. Responds to that by playing the sides that are most profitable, but a socialist would say the opposite because it suits their ideological framework. But that is also the untruth that he critiques. Sorry for long post. Oh no, it's all good. It's all good. I don't believe that the media existing in certain ways creates social division. No, I don't think that was part of his argument. Yeah, he's just arguing that the media more and more has been sliding the Overton window to the right. We know that the media manufactures consents for all kind of atrocities. Well, we did definitely we have seen plenty of examples for that. Yes, that has happened. Yes. Long story short, people like this, gross.
In summary, what we're left with is news media that completely betrays the role it says it performs. We have media institutions that do not question power and that do not fully serve their role as informers of a democratic body. No, what we have instead are large media institutions that parrot the voices of the powerful, inform the public on a limited range of topics conditioned by their need to turn a profit, offer limited criticism of an economic order their owners benefit from, and in the process, reinforce, exaggerate, or otherwise produce a more reactionary public discourse.
Right, whether intentional or not. I think his argument that is like the ultimate, like that is like the outcome that is happening. It is a byproduct. Also, I think that like the media operating in a for-profit business model does tend to skew things, and not good because if you're not incentivized, if the line isn't going up, then you don't have that monetary incentive because the media, is, well, a business.
And you might be wondering, well, isn't this what social media was supposed to fix? Isn't a democratic internet where individuals aren't dealing with upfront costs, aren't necessarily tied to having an audience or a boss, and can therefore do this kind of democratic accountability and information spreading independently? Well, no. The profit model has carried through to social media. And already, we're seeing how Elon Musk's ownership of Twitter specifically has made the platform reflect the same biases as traditional corporate media institutions. Recently, left-wing Twitter accounts, including those of an anti-fascist researcher, a video journalist who reports on the far right, an anti-fascist self-defense security organization, and an anarchist collective, per this article in The Intercept, have all been shut down following a public Twitter exchange between a far-right writer and Elon Musk.
True. I don't personally have much of a problem with mainstream media outlets trying to find equilibrium in the middle where it feels it belongs, because most Americans would usually be there or thereabouts. I guess the problem is more than that it sits alongside an equally powerful but very partisan equivalent in Fox, which openly ignores the equilibrium in an attempt to find its own middle ground on the right. It doesn't create a right, but it definitely amplifies them. Right. Yeah, I think you both are saying the same thing. Maybe I misunderstood, but it sounds like you're both making the similar arguments, or you're both arriving at the same place. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like you guys are arriving like similar locations.
In other words, Musk's ownership has allowed yet another media platform to become more explicit in its tolerance of far-right ideologues and talking points, while silencing the leftist response. Therefore, not only mainstreaming the far right, but homogenizing the public discourse in a conservative direction, and all under the cover of free speech. The conclusion here isn't to be totally distrustful of all forms of media, or even the kinds of corporate media sources I talked about in this video. It's to know what biases inform their delivery of the news, to know what's not getting said, and why they cover things the way they do. News media has an incredibly important role in our society. Our politics are necessarily going to be mediated by someone at some point, because there's just no way we could personally experience every political topic ourselves. The problem is that the most influential institutions that do this job today, with the kinds of constraints, intentions, and control we know exist, simply cannot do that in a capitalist media landscape. I mentioned at the beginning of this video that this kind of content is made possible by my...
That's me on my TV. It's my roommate's account. Hey, Surfer McGrady, how's it going? But again, check the news from many sources. No, that's not what he's arguing. He isn't arguing that you shouldn't, like, check your sources and do things like that. He's saying that overall there is a ratcheting effect that is normalizing, like James Napper said, like the new middle seems to be more and more to the right. Fox certainly amplified the right, but eventually even Fox had to push back against the more extreme right, even if it was simply out of self-preservation. Yep, I've been very busy. Happy to see you. Thank you, I appreciate that. Happy to see you. Hope you're doing well. Thank you for taking the time to hang out here with us. I get the gist of the video. Yeah, that's the point. Then that's good. If you get the gist of the video, then that's good. Then it did its job.
Patrons on Patreon. As you can probably imagine, when I made the switch to producing political content, I started getting demonetized way more often, and most of my sponsors bailed. It's understandable, but because of this, I'm having to rely more heavily on viewers like you to maintain my channel. If you like the kind of videos I'm producing, and you're able to chip in even $1 a month, I would greatly appreciate the support. As a little show of that appreciation, every patron, regardless of donation amount, gets early access to every video, plus access to our patrons-only Discord server. It's a really fun place to hang out. We have everything from a recommended reading list, to a book club, to special channels for our neurodivergent and LGBT comrades. We've built a great little community, and we'd love for you to be a part of it. So if you'd like to help support my channel, join the Discord, and get early access to every video, consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/secondthought. If you enjoyed this video, consider dropping a like. If you hated it, a thumbs down. You can check out my other content by following the links on your screen.
True. All right. Oh, folks. I just... Oh, man. We have to cover this, folks. This just came up. I'm just very wary of the assumptions around if media shifts, the nation will shift, because although there's an argument to be made there, I don't think it's a complete truth. Voters are often impacted by issue salience, by messaging and political rhetoric, but the outcome is often them doubling down on what they believe before they encounter the media itself. Maybe, but like, I mean, I would say that, like, it's kind of hard not to, it's kind of hard not to ignore the impact that the media has. I mean, if the media goes around to millions and tens of millions of people saying X, that does filter through. I mean, it's kind of like how we meme on the right wingers, who are just like a bunch of NPCs who repeat the same talking points that they hear from the same creators, and those same content creators get those talking points from the same outlets, and they're just like completely regurgitated. Yeah, the media, kind of does shift perspective, right? If you have a media apparatus, like for example the Daily Wire, that's like that has a huge permeating effect. I mean, yeah, it does change perspective. It does shift. I hear the same things word for word from like Ben Shapiro. Okay. Voters are often impacted by issue salience, messaging, and political rhetoric, but the outcome is them often doubling down on what they already believed before they encountered the media itself. Okay, wait, so you're saying that it just reinforces their own like biases? Maybe. Depends on if you're talking about local news or national. Well, yeah, I'm mostly talking about like the mainstream, like national news. Folks, I don't believe this. This just came up on my feed. This is 4 days old already, but I haven't seen anybody talk about this. But I hope it's true. Hold on,
At
folks.
Doctors Without Borders.
I would like to give a small content warning. The quartering. Okay? The quarter pounder, the quivering. Content warning, you've been warned. I think the real question is, are we about to waste our time? We'll see.
So some announcements that we have to make. I, Mug Club, am leaving the Blaze. This is a long time coming, obviously, and I had been hoping that this would be, of course, a joint statement. I've lost sleep over this for months because I knew that I wouldn't be renewing, and of course the Blaze knew that I wouldn't be renewing, but I have no way of reaching you. All I ask really right now is that if you want Mug Club to continue, enter in your email so we can make that happen. Yeah. And special thanks, by the way, to Jeremy of the Quartering. He stepped in and helped us last night. Literally all night. It's not a sponsor to the show. I will tell you, though, we all use Coffee brand coffee here. Yep. It's great. The guy stepped in, is a saint.
Yeah. Ditsu Crowder really quick. Crowder has a heart condition to slow down or replace. I don't know. I think most people are conservative or liberal before they encounter this media. That's determined by the other stuff before someone even learns how to interpret politics, I think. But they'll take what they want from the news they see. A conservative watching Fox will nod along. A conservative watching CNN will shake their head. Opposite for the liberal-minded. When things issues like salience, like say CRT get involved, it does make the same. Makes sense pro CRT and makes conservative anti. Yeah, but like maybe like I guess like in like the broad view of it, right, even though probably both don't know what it is, but like I mean he kind of showed you like what the goal was, right? Like Chris Rufo literally said we're gonna decode this term, so the actual meaning of CRT is no longer relevant. Whenever you see it on the news, I need you to be triggered. Does that make sense? And of course it did. It did exactly what he said it would do. It did exactly what he said he wanted it to do. Maybe I'm just reinforcing your point. But yeah.
and he refuses to charge me anything, which is.
Is he a wine guy? I'll send him some wine.
I don't know. I'm sure he's a drunk. Is it working?
Thank God, the server is working.
Can we have a celery? Hey, Jeremy at the quartering. Do we have an overlay for him? People, go out and support. This is the only reason you are able to sign up is Jeremy at the quartering. Hit some kind of celebratory music. Oh, is that all I have?
Celebrate good time or something?
Well, yeah, it's an action and reaction because conservatives would be triggered by it, but liberals would be galvanized by it. Gotcha. Okay,
all
gotcha.
I have is Gerald's stocking confetti.
Yay.
And thank you so much to Jeremy. Do we have an overlay for him or no? No? Just Jeremy, I think his channel is the quartering. Thank you so much.
It's a really great show.
Our servers would not be working if not. He really did. He stepped in. He was actually doing it on his website. Thank you so much.
The quartering, and it's been an interesting morning. It's been a seismic shift in the conservative content sphere. I don't really consider myself in the. It's like you have like the lefties.
Whoa! Didn't he say that he never considered himself anything? Like he tries to continue to keep up this facade. But no, you're pretty right wing. Was that your Discord making noises or mine? Because I started checking in case someone's spamming. No, it's probably mine. I had to shut it off. I had to turn it off. I had to close it.
Then you have like Tim and myself. Then you have like Crowder and Daily Wire. Or maybe like even you say the Daily Wire and the Blaze.
No, you're all the same.
Over the years, I found myself relating more to content found on the Blaze than on Daily Wire.
Of course.
Respect what both have done over the years, but
remember, he's not conservative. He's not like political.
Been lifted recently because I became friends with a lot of people that worked at the Blaze. And what it was like to actually work there. There was a time where I was literally trying to negotiate with the Blaze to see if they would like buy out my channel and bring me on to add some consistency or some reliability, health insurance, things like that. It cost me $2,000 a month to insure my family every single month. It comes out right of my pocket. Things like that. 401k matches, things. Niceties. Of course, there are a lot of things about being on your own. But this morning, I want to go to kind of a bombshell clip and then share with you, what I know and what I can also. I feel like I can speculate on a lot of things because I know a lot of people that have worked at the Blaze. So this morning. Oh my God, this Trump NFT. What was he thinking? He's got to get better people around him. If I sound cached, it's because I was up all night long fixing Steven Crowder's website, along with a very, 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 very good friend of mine. You may know the name MetaPCs, but Zach from MetaPCs, sick, up all night with me, getting it handled for him, get it over to a proper server. And so while Steven gave me a ton of shine in his video, I couldn't have done it without Zach and MetaPCs. So, promo code the quartering. Check out MetaPCs. If you want to thank anybody for helping Crowder out, Zach is just
shut up.
As much.
I want to know if he's leaving or not.
So he put out this video last night. Man, am I tired. I have a live stream today too. Okay, gonna have to have some coffee, Brad coffee.
Mugclubforever.com. Enter in your email. You can bring it up on full screen, Toolman. Just so you know, this is a horrible start. Mugclubforever.com. Look, yesterday and the day before when we put this up, the servers crashed. We had DDoS attacks. I want to make sure that you know it now.
Oh, he got DDoS, Lamau. Is he clickbaiting? Is he quitting? I'm trying to find out because this dude is like worse than fucking Ben Shapiro when it comes to fucking clickbait. Like his entire thing is clickbaiting. We're just trying to like sift through the garbage. Me too. I'm down for him to quit. Yeah, me too. If Steven Crowder like stopped making political content, like that would be like an overall like good for humanity. Health insurance is expensive and you're complaining about it. I hope you vote for parties that look to make that easier. Ha! Nah. Yeah, right. Was that your... Yeah, it was my Discord, probably. Critical race theories, yes, we know. The health insurance thing is actually a great example of what I'm talking about, where someone will align with the right even when it doesn't actually logically fit because they've picked it already. This guy could be bombarded with health insurance news for months and it wouldn't change his stance. He'd still vote for right-wing conservatives. True! Okay. Maybe, yeah, I'm starting to see the light. I'm down for him to quit. True. Steven Crowder and people like him should stop doing political stuff. Yes.
100% works. If you signed up before you were hearing this right now, I ask that you sign up again. The email list may not actually work because of what happened with...
So, right now, what we understand is that Crowder's thing got DDoSed. Boohoo. Next.
The servers. So some announcements that we have to make. I, Mug Club, am leaving the Blaze.
That's kind of a big deal because Steven Crowder is the Blaze. Maybe some of my older viewers...
What? No, Steven Crowder is not the Blaze. Or maybe I'm misunderstanding. I just feel like he's caught up on hot takes and I don't think he actually believes half of the things. Damn, you know what that's called? There's a word for that. Even though he actually needs progressive health insurance reform that the left advocates for as a central point. True! And this guy would call it like socialism or something. True. You know, there's a word for people who don't actually believe like the things that they advocate for. Chat, can you help me with that? I don't know. It's like at the tip of my tongue.
They still tune into Glenn Beck, maybe. But there are very, very few draws at the Blaze left. I have friends that work there. I don't mean to disparage them, but they're not Steven Crowder. They're not, 6 million subscriber channel with like seismic shifts, content creation, production values. It just doesn't exist. And by the way, I want to help him out too. Obviously the website is ugly. Don't yell at me. I think I got called at about 10:30 at night last night, and it was the hugest cluster I've ever seen in my life, ever. So I said, well, I can get your site up and I can make sure it's on a dedicated server so that you can handle the traffic. I didn't even have any time to do like a thank you page or anything like that, but it should be working now, mugclubforever.com. If you haven't yet, open a new tab, please, and sign up for it. He's not going to spam or sell the list. I talked to him about that, but it's going to be important to him because it sounds like he's going out on his own. And that's why it's important to me. I've always been indie. I've never been, been affiliated with anybody. And I'm sure it's exceedingly scary for him. And, I don't know if he doesn't have access. I would assume the fact that he needs to build this list means he must not have access to his own customers. I don't know that, but I assume. So if you're a fan of Crowder or if you're a fan of me, open a new tab. Don't leave this video or go after this video to mugclubforever.com and join his list. So then at least you can get notified, I think in March or something like that.
So he's not quitting. He quit the Blaze.
If you went and joined his list too, because I'm sure he's freaking out. And I've as that list grows, I think he'll feel like his people are going to go with him. That's how, I relate to Crowder because I know,
yeah, I relate to Crowder because I'm right-wing grifter, and the most terrifying thing is to actually come to the realization that I may not be as popular, that my ideas may not be as popular as I think.
In a lot of ways. I'm
Nice,
probably a little less edgy.
nice tacit admission.
But I know we share a lot of fans, and I know my viewers go hard for me. And therefore, I can be 100% sure his fans go hard for him. So open a new tab, even while I'm talking here, or if you're driving or listening to a friend, make sure you do it later and you join his list. You just put your email address in, hit the button, you're done. Okay?
This is a long time coming, obviously, and I had been hoping that this would be, of course, a joint statement. I've lost sleep over this for months because I knew that I wouldn't be renewing, and of course, the Blaze knew that I wouldn't be renewing, but I have no way of reaching you.
I don't know.
I'm precluded from being able to reach you.
Okay, so I think what he means here, this is why I saw some people in the Twitter threads and stuff saying like, why isn't he my email? Blah, 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 blah. This is why. Because it's like his only way to reach you.
I don't know if these people
who
own it.
Controls that? I don't know. That's the thing. I know he controls this list because I set it up. So, but I don't know. Maybe this means he's not going to have access to his own website, louderwithcrowder.com anymore, because this is a different domain name. So I don't know how bad he might be getting screwed in this. So, I don't think he hard sold it as hard as he should. So,
So if he leaves the Blaze, because it seems like he's quitting the Blaze, I don't know. That means he loses all access to all this stuff, and he has to basically. So what he's scared of is basically starting from scratch. That's what it sounds like, but he's not. Steven Crowder is huge. All he has to do is make one announcement.
I'll do it. Mugclub, open a new tab, mugclubforever.com, join his list. I know for a fact he's not going to spam you. He just wants to be able to know that he can, when he relaunches his Mug Club, he wants to tell people it's open. This is what I'm assuming, I assume it also gives him, and his family and his many full-time employees a little bit of, relief to see if that list gets really huge. Huge.
And that's why if you go in and enter your email so we don't lose touch with you at mugclubforever.com, we can enter that in there. And every time I mention it to him, I just bring it up. Every time you got good. That's why I'll be mentioning it ad nauseum here because it's the only way that I can get in touch with you. I don't know how many of you there. I only know that there are well over 300,000 of you who have paid to sign up and watch.
That's massive. It makes me want to start a Mug Club. It makes me want to start some exclusive content. 300,000 people have joined Mug Club. Let me do the math, right? Now, here's the thing. I'm sure.
I love how he's running the numbers in his head how much more money could I possibly be making off these people?
That Crowder doesn't get that money. It goes to the Blaze. I'm sure he gets a chunk of it. I'm sure he doesn't get all the money for his ad reads. Just because I know other people that work at the Blaze and that's how it worked. I think that's ultimately, it's an extremely dicey situation. And, I'm pulling for him.
Yeah, he's literally only thinking about money. That's literally all the quartering thinks about, by the way. That's the beginning and the end of the thought process. And again, there's a word for that. I don't know. Seems like it should be at the
People
top.
cover it. That's why we have to cover
my
it.
tongue.
If you're a fan of independent creators going out on their own, you're a fan of Steven Crowder, share this video. 7 hours ago, this is the only article I saw from The Focus. No disrespect, but I don't know what The Focus is. Mug Club Forever goes down as Steven Crowder fans fear split with Blaze. Crowder has run his own show since 2017. After parting ways with Fox News, Louder with Crowder started out his YouTube show before moving to conservative reviews streaming service CRTV. When CRTV merged with The Blaze, aka Blaze TV, Louders Carter moved networks to become The Blaze's central conservative daily show. It's still available to stream through Crowder's YouTube channel. Some of Crowder's followers left concerned after the website Mug Club Forever went down this month. I fixed that for him, so you're good. Now they need to make it look good. I got it up and running.
Yeah,
December 13th,
yeah.
Crowder
The word
that
is
changed on the way
grifter.
of massive news dropping Thursday. Crowder said following. Crowder then encouraged fans to go sign up for Mug Club via the site. Crowder followed with another tweet. Tomorrow's the big day. I have a major
Fola.
offer for my Mug Club subscribers, as well as those who are interested in signing up. I promise you, you won't want to miss this. This
How's it
inevitably pushed
going?
followers towards Mug Club Forever website, which became swamped with signups. He lost all those. So if you sign up in that original push, you need to resign up. Whoever set it up was using like a gravity form. What were they thinking? Anyway, okay. Do
you believe Crowder's really quitting? No, this was clickbait. We just wasted 12 minutes of time that we're never getting back. He's quitting the Blaze. He's quitting the Blaze, but I don't think he's gonna quit making like political content. So from what I understand, he is going out solo, meaning without the massive backing of the Blaze, like monetarily. He's freaking out because he's losing all of that, and the quartering here decided to give him a lifeline by fixing his stupid website. So thanks, the quartering.
I don't understand. After being directed to Mug Club Forever, it wasn't long
How's
because
it going?
fans reported they were having trouble accessing the site. Yeah, the site went down and I fixed it. I mean, it just wasn't on a beefy enough server. We needed to get an enterprise solution in place. And, when you spin up an enterprise solution, it usually takes a couple days. This isn't like a VPS where they can just partition stuff off. And so I called in a massive a massive favor of a friend who already had an enterprise site at, I think I called him at like midnight to get the site hosted there. And then I told him, hey, here's you got to sign up for your own, here's what you got to do, and I'll help him move it over when he's ready. But I'm really proud of him going out on his own. I'm sure he's really, really worried and nervous. But I think he's going to do great. And I think if a bunch of people go sign up on his list, he'll be able to sleep tonight, knowing that he can get a hold of his fans and viewers when he needs to. Best of luck, Steven. I'm here to help after a long nap.
Yeah, fuck you. Anyways, I thought we were gonna get some like massive fucking bombshell where like Steven Crowder just like quits for real. But no, he's just moving on to his own. That's it. Damn, I was getting happy for a second. Oh well. So to follow up like the Trump NFT thing, turns out the Trump NFT were stolen from copyright material because of course it is. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I was actually gonna go into that because of course it is. I mean, like, wow, a con man engaging in yet another con. Wow. No way.
My boss texted to pick up these gifts.
There's literally nothing legitimate about this guy.
Looking to buy one of Donald Trump's Well, folks, if you were looking to buy one of Donald Trump's limited edition NFT trading cards, I got some bad news. They're sold out. In less than 24 hours, Donald Trump's NFT collection sold out, netting him, or grossing him, I guess. I don't know which one it is. But anyway, $4.45 million. He conned his supporters out of. Totally gone. You can't get them. Sorry, folks. But Donald Trump gets to walk away with $4.5 million. For now. Because there is a chance he could end up losing all of that money because according to reports, he may have stolen those images. Matthew Sheffield a correspondent for the Young Turks, put together a Twitter thread showing that Donald Trump's NFT, like non-fungible token images that are supposed to be original
JPEG collection,
creations that you
$4.5 million.
sell, might actually be stolen from sites like Amazon.
Fleecing your entire supporter base over and over again, priceless.
The first one he pointed out was the one of Donald Trump dressed as a cowboy. And he showed that there's actually a cowboy costume available on Amazon in 2 different colors. And when you put the 2 images together, you basically get the image of Trump. Even the hands are identical to the one in the product picture from Amazon.com.
Look at that. That's hilarious.
So it's pretty obvious. They took the collar off one of the images. They took the rest of it off the other, put them together, slapped Trump's face on it poorly, and that's an NFT. If you're using somebody else's work and claiming it as your own and selling it for a profit, you can 100% be sued for that. And because this was a product on Amazon, not a stock image that they purchased, that is actually an actionable, legally speaking, problem. So Donald Trump could easily be sued for stealing someone else's images for his NFTs.
It's bad Photoshop regardless.
Then he goes
true.
on and he shows the astronaut picture. And he says, the Trump astronaut NFT image appears to have been a recolored image that was stolen from at Benny Direct, whatever. So he stole this one too. Then he goes on to the next one. The Trump fighter jet pilot NFT seems to be a Shutterstock image. Did they license it? Who knows? If they licensed it, they could technically sell it like that, but maybe not. And then this is the funniest one. Here's the image from which the Trump tuxedo NFT seems to have been created. It's fitting that a fake billionaire put himself in a tuxedo from Men's Warehouse. And that's, of course, the one with the worst photoshopped head on there. But yep, I mean, you can see the image. The hands are identical to the Men's Warehouse image. That, of course, is not a stock image. So it would be illegal for him to sell that as his own. And then, of course, you have the NFT of him pretending to be a hunter. It's derived from a waiter set from DNWOutdoors.com. His people seem to have stolen these images and sold them as if they were their own. So yes, Trump made his $4.45 million off of this, but how much is he going to lose in the resulting lawsuits?
Maybe.
That's going to be hilarious.
Well, that would be like, I mean, that would remain to be seen, to see if any lawsuits would come out of this, which would be absolutely hilarious. And furthermore, it's like, dude, you were able to fleece your supporters again for the umpteenth time to the tune of several millions of dollars and provided nothing of value while providing nothing of value except for like essentially glorified JPEGs for like $10 an hour on Fiverr. You could have gotten him a better image. True. And yet I've said, I have a set of waders similar to those. They're pretty cool. I can walk to 3.5 foot of mud and water and not get wet. I feel like a human tank. Nice. That's pretty cool. 3 of 10's Republican. So yeah. Yep. Imagine like fleecing your supporters over and over and over again to the tunes of millions of dollars. We'll see if any lawsuits actually come from it. If it's if it does, I mean, we'll definitely laugh at the memes.
And if you own those images that Donald Trump appears to have ripped...
By the way, you don't actually own those images. I mean, like, at any given point, that could, like, disappear, you know? It's not, like, an actual tangible thing.
...off, and it's very obvious. The hand position for me is what gives it away. Like, you stole these images, as far as I can tell. and you're going to end up losing every single dollar that you spent on it. And more importantly, because these are digital NFTs, everyone who bought them might also lose them, which means they could then end up suing you as well.
Ah.
So enjoy your $4.5 million now, because you're probably going to lose a hell of a lot more than that when the lawsuits get filed.
Well, hopefully we'll see, because that would be some good memes. That would be some tremendous memes. Cheeseburger Freedom Eagle, how's it going? It's hilarious because the licensors like Shutterstock and Getty can come after him, not just the individual creators, making a lot more power in copyright lawsuits. Also, there's no shot at fair use because he violated day one law of fair use, which is, are you making a profit? Right, which, yeah, $4.5 million. Yep, 100% correct there. We'll see. I mean, I if there's any like lawsuits and whatnot, we'll follow it just for the memes. Just for the memes. Mike Lindell, who's currently facing down a massive lawsuit, continues to spread this election denial bullshit. And honestly, I don't care. If you're like out here spreading like election denial shit, like you're infinitely like you are the problem. You are the problem. People like this guy over here, Mike Lindell, massive problem to our democratic systems, whatever semblance of them there are. But here he is, continuing to, I guess, dig his grave.
Are you saying you don't think they had your back? You spent $40 million trying to get sorted the 2020 election and all the election theft for 2022?
Yeah, that's right.
Do you think they had your back?
Absolutely not. And they didn't have the country's back. They proved it in Arizona. Here we are in Arizona. And they come down here and they were going to put all this money into what happened here in the midterms. And then as soon as they found out that it was the relief was a new election, they backed out and they headed over to Georgia. You know, let's head over to Georgia and raise more money, and another loss. It's 5 Fs in a row. 18 Fs.
Is the rumors true? Are you putting up the money here for Kerry Lake and all of the fights here? Or is there RNC?
No, I am.
You are.
The Lindell Offensive Fund, the Lindell Legal Offense Fund. So.
Can we give it up for Mike
Let's give it up for Mike Lindell.
Are you saying you don't think they had your back?
Yeah.
You spent $40 million.
Cool. Literally pouring tens and millions of dollars into trying to dispute the result of an election after it's been recounted. Yep, the right definitely is a much more greater threat. The far right is infinitely more of a problem right now. I don't care what anybody says. All right, folks. We gotta do some actual like the serious headlines. First one. Texas sought gender change data on driver's license, report says. The Texas Attorney General's office requested data on number of Texans who in recent years had switched their gender on driver's licenses and other state documents, the Washington Post reported on Wednesday. So for context, it's going to go into it. But the information is being requested by the Attorney General. Explain to me why any Attorney General would need any of that information. Explain that to me. Explain to me why a very, first of all, a very hostile Attorney General, a very bigoted and hostile Attorney General, would even be entertaining this idea of requesting a list, a registrar, one could say, with this information. Explain to me why that would be necessary. Isn't that a HIPAA violation? I don't know. Maybe? The Post report was based on public record requests on the internal communications within the Department of Public Safety related to the Attorney General's office request. The DPS is the agency that issues driver's license and other state documents. The motive behind the request, which was made in June and sought the data of those who had switched genders for previous years, is unknown. Like, oh, well then, what the fuck? Then why are you... If you can't provide a good enough reason to need this information, why the fuck are you asking for it? Why are you trying to make what essentially would be a list of... Also a list of, coincidentally, a group of people you're incredible... that are, A, marginalized, B, you're incredibly bigoted against. And you're the Attorney General of that state. Huh. That's not disturbing. That's not disturbing at all. The paper reports that the advocates for transgender Texans are worried that the Attorney General could use the data to further restrict their right to transition and would have a chilling effort to secretly harness personal information to persecute already vulnerable people. Right? Like, why would you need a list? The Attorney General. It came at a time when leaders in the Republican-led state have focused on transgender issues, including investigating families for transgender youth for, quote, child abuse, and passing a bill to ban transgender kids from playing sports that don't align with their gender at birth. Equal rights and civil liberties advocates have criticized Texas actions on transgender issues, calling them discriminatory, hate-based measures designed to energize hardcore social conservatives. Attorney General's office did not respond to Reuters for requests for comment, nor did the DPS. A spokesperson for DPS told the Post that an initial search found 16,000 instances of genders being switched on driver's license and other documents. DPS determined that a more thorough manual search of records was needed to get an accurate figure on gender switches on documents and why such switches were made. Why would the Attorney General need this information? Ultimately, no data was delivered by the DPS to the Attorney General's office because an accurate count was not possible. Thank goodness. The fact that they were even entertaining this idea is just like wild. He added that he could not say who within the Attorney General's office made the request for data. I'm sorry. If this is a government like issue, then yeah, we should be able to know who the fuck asked and why. That seems kind of important. But that seems kind of important. Anytime, like, the government, especially, like, in position, like, the people in positions of power, like the Attorney General, is requesting lists of individuals, that should set off, like, massive alarm bells. Period. Especially when, like, category of individuals are marginalized. Unfreaking real. Unfreaking real. Folks, if you can spread the word, because this kind of shit that shouldn't fly. This kind of shit should not be a thing. And it is very, very concerning. It is very concerning. This is what happens when Republicans win elections. This is what happens when Republicans win elections. I mean, it's a direct link. Republican Attorney General won elections, and he was out there snooping around trying to get lists of marginalized people, of marginalized trans people. Why? Who knows? Can confirm, I am Texan. It's wild out here. The Overton windows so far to the right. True. So much so that we have the Attorney General soliciting data that should be none of his freaking business. Like, this is unbelievably disturbing. Like, think about it. Think about it. Has there ever been a time where, like, a government, like, force, like a bureaucracy, a government agency, an executive branch, or anything like that, has there ever been a scenario where asking for lists of people is a good thing? Has there ever been a scenario where asking lists of people, of a group of people, and those groups of people just, that have been marginalized, have ever been a good thing? The default position is to be a conspiracy theorist, Kyle Rittenhouse fan. Jesus. Holy yikes, Batman. The only thing I could think of for doing this would be identify anyone who's previously convicted of a crime before transition or anything like that, but then wouldn't ID number have number? Yeah, you have driver's license numbers. Yeah, but like the thing is, like, the default position should be like, should normally, under like normal like circumstances, would be to be like, you know, that's kind of weird, but we know who Ken Paxton is, right? Like, well, I would say that if you've, because you're not from the U.S., James Napper? I forget. I think you're from Germany? You're going to have to remind me. But if you know who Ken Paxton is, yeah, this guy is bad news. Scotland, shoot. Jesus, never mind. Look, listen, James, scrub the past 30 seconds and it'll be all right. Scrub the past 30 seconds of your memory, it'll be all right. Listen, I knew it was somewhere in Europe, okay? I'll give myself A for effort on that one. If you know who Ken Paxton is, like, yeah, if you know where the politics have gone in terms of Texas, oh man, yeah. Besides, like, what would the Attorney General, like the top prosecutor, need those lists for? Like, it would be something if there's like a crime being investigated for certain, like an individual or something like that. But this isn't it. Why would you need an entire like roster? It doesn't make any sense. And yeah, like I said, if you know who Ken Paxton is, yeah, it's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Not good at all. Like I was saying, there hasn't really been a circumstance where some type of like government agency or executive branch or some kind of like governmental state power has started requesting lists and specifically of like marginalized people, and that has ever led to a good thing. So yeah, that's like ringing all the alarm bells. If you've got like the top prosecutor asking for a fucking list of like trans people, that's not good. That should be ringing all the alarm bells. Not good. There shouldn't be a scenario where this is even like, where this is even a ability to be a request. From how it reads on the articles, is they were trying to they were using the department to compile lists purely because they may have had them rather than having to do anything with driving crime at all. So yeah, exactly. That's how you get the data, because they were trying to compile a list, registrar, if you will. And why would the attorney general need that again? And in this article and in several other articles, they were not even able to give an explanation as to why they needed them. Oh man, I don't know. Like I said, in any scenario where the government is asking for lists, yeah, all the alarm bells should be ringing. Especially, you know, given the context of who Ken Paxton is, someone who is incredibly hostile and bigoted to said group of people that he's just happening to happen to ask the list for. I mean, yeah, not good. From how? Oh yeah. So make sure you spread the word, because like I said, this should be ringing all the alarm bells. Period. All right, let's switch gears a little bit. The January 6th committee voted to refer criminal charges to the Justice Department for former President Trump. Hey, stop it. For former President Trump and lawyer John Eastman for their alleged roles in the insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. The whole purpose and obvious effect of Trump's scheme were to obstruct, influence, and impede this official proceeding, the central moment of the lawful transfer of power in the U.S. True. The committee made four criminal... yes, I believe some folks in chat were mentioning four criminal referrals for Trump: obstruction of an official proceeding. Yes. Conspiracy to defraud the United States. True. Conspiracy to make a false statement and incite, assist, and aid in comfort and insurrection. True. All of these are perfectly fine recommendations. Mayhem Hippie with a tier 1 sub at 8 months. Howdy. It's thank you so much. I appreciate the support. Thank you. Thank you. It's floating along the lines of unconstitutional, also surely because there's implied protections of privacy. Yeah, somebody mentioned HIPAA. And you'd imagine that the government agencies can only hold information when it's relevant to their office and their work, which sounds like they couldn't even substantiate. Right, which is thankfully they couldn't really produce. And like what's more disturbing is that they couldn't really produce the list. The reason why they didn't do it, not because they didn't want to fulfill the request, because of some like constitutional problem or some legal problem. They couldn't fulfill the request because they couldn't actually compile the data that he was looking for because of how much it would take to sort through. That's disturbing because if they had a way of doing that, they would have given him the information. Why? So yeah, all of these completely perfect, fine referrals. But referrals by Congress are merely recommendations, and the Justice Department is under no obligation to bring any charges to those referred for prosecution. Still, the committee's referrals could increase political pressure on the department to act, and lawmakers could unveil new evidence in their final report that federal prosecutors have not yet accessed. I mean, hey, if you've got the evidence, just spill the beans, damn it. If you've already got the evidence, we don't need to just give it to the Justice Department. If you've got evidence, just swing it on over to their side. The Justice Department did not comment on Monday. The committee also recommended 4 Republican members of Congress and House Ethics Committee for punishment for the failure to comply with the committee's subpoenas. These are the House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Andy Biggs, Jim Jordan, and Scott Perry. Under the new House GOP majority, McCarthy is running to be the next speaker, and Biggs plans to challenge him. Committee Chair Benny Thompson emphasized how important accountability was for Trump and his allies. True. Like, the fact that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene and all these other freaking clowns from the circus, from Trump Circus, have allowed to even continue to have positions in office is just beyond wild to me. Beyond wild to me. The fact that this alone didn't get Marjorie Taylor Greene kicked off.
I swear in on January 3rd.
The fact that this alone didn't get Marjorie Taylor Greene kicked out of Congress immediately is beyond wild to me.
I get accused of giving insurrection tours, which I thought was hilarious because I couldn't even find the bathroom in the Capitol.
Yeah, we've all watched this video, but you know what? We need to make sure we're understanding the severity of what we're dealing with.
And I want to tell you something, if Steve Bannon and I had organized that, we would have won.
Ooh, the crowd cheers.
See, that's the whole joke, isn't it?
Yeah, it's just jokes, guys, you know.
And I'm like, are you kidding me? A bunch of conservative Second Amendment supporters went in the Capitol without guns and they think that we organized that? I don't think so.
Well, that's also not true. There definitely was weapons and guns. There definitely was guns and weapons, and as we saw with the sedition trial, yeah, they absolutely had the ability. Can we get Zangief on stage instead? Who's Zangief? What? What is this? Who is that? The fact that this alone didn't get Marjorie Taylor Greene like yeeted out of Congress is beyond wild. Accountability that can only be found in the criminal justice system. We have every confidence that the work of this committee will help provide a roadmap to justice, and the agencies and institutions responsible for ensuring justice under the law will use this information we've provided to aid their work. And for those of you who have followed this committee's work, I hope we have made it helped make clear that there's a broader kind of accountability to all of you, the American people. The proceeding marks the culmination of panel's nearly 18-month investigation into the insurrection of the United States Capitol, which featured testimony from dozens of witnesses and a series of high-profile hearings that examined the insurrection and Trump's role in stoking the supporters to storm the building. The committee recapped their findings from the previous hearings, including depositions, in-person testimony from witnesses, and video from her attack from the insurrection at the Capitol. She cheated on her husband with a guy that cosplays as Zangief, the wrestler from the USSR Street Fighter. Oh. Okay. Trump has maintained he did nothing wrong on January 6th, and the investigation by what he calls the Unselect Committee of Political Hacks is a, quote, witch hunt. Yeah. On Monday morning, he posted on his social media platform, Truth Social, that Republicans must stand strong against the committee, and this is a dark period in American history. I mean, he's not wrong. That it is definitely a dark period in American history, but it's because of him. It's because of the current Republican Party. Representative Andy Biggs, one of the 4 members of Congress who the committee referred for sanctions to the House Ethics Committee, slammed the action in a statement on Monday, and he said that the Republican-led Congress will set the record straight. An 11th hour referral to the House Ethics Committee proves that the sham J6 committee never truly needed our testimony. They only wanted our testimony to have the ability to edit and misconstrue our statements to further their own false narratives, as they did with so many other witnesses. What false narratives? And if those witnesses lied or anything like that, or they clipped out of context or whatever, why don't you show it? Why are you grandstanding? Biggs claimed it was inappropriate to use the House Ethics Committee to help reach the J6 committee's predetermined conclusions. He also accused the committee of having defamed my name and my character. Yeah, okay, buddy. I'm sure that'll hold up fine in court. Senate Minority Leader, who voted against convicting Trump in the Senate, but then castigated him in a speech afterwards, issued a statement after the Monday hearing without naming the former president. The entire nation knows who's responsible for that day. Beyond that, I don't have any immediate observations. What a fucking spineless fucking clown. What a spineless piece of shit. Imagine being a Republican in December 19th of 2022. Imagine being a Republican. What a spineless coward. Seven Republican senators voted to convict Trump in February of 2021, making the vote 57-43, falling short of the 67 needed. Although McConnell did not vote to convict, he said in a speech afterward Trump was practically and morally responsible for the attack, but yet didn't convict them. What a spineless piece of shit. His fucking words mean absolutely nothing. This is why I'm saying, like, the entire Republican Party, completely incompatible with democracy. Completely incompatible. Acknowledging the fact that he was practically and morally responsible for the insurrectionary behavior, but then yet, like, having the ability to do something about it and choosing not to, because this was a conscious decision, especially being McConnell, who can wrangle up the Senate Republicans to vote one way or the other. That's supposed to be, like, his thing. That was supposed to be his thing. He could just, like, whip the Republicans to vote a certain way in unison. It just goes to show you that, like, it doesn't matter. They're all complicit. McConnell acknowledges that Trump was practically and morally responsible for the insurrectionary behavior that occurred on January 6th. And yet, failed to do the one thing he actually had the ability within his power. Did McTurtle say whether it was good or bad, or just that he was responsible? He said he was responsible practically and morally for the attack. He did not. You're right, S.V. Harkin. And nowhere in these quotes did he say it was bad. That is a very good point and very interesting observation. McConnell and Trump had long been at odds with each other and frequently differed on backing candidates in the 2022 election. So maybe he was congratulating Trump. True. This is not a condemnation. This is just saying who's responsible for it. Yeah, but I mean, if you want to, like, read it as he's blaming him for the insurrectionary behavior, I mean, like, it's just the recognition. It's just like the recognition of who's responsible. Tells you all that you need to know, right? In other words, the Republican Party from top to bottom, the head of the Senate, the head of the Republicans in the Senate, acknowledging completely in public, acknowledging that Trump is, practically and morally responsible for the insurrectionary behavior. He's just not going to do anything about it. He didn't do anything about it, despite having the one thing that he could. He didn't. So, yeah, the Republican Party completely, top to bottom, incompatible with democracy. And by default, taking this stance by default makes him complicit and pro-insurrectionary behavior, right? Because if he wasn't, then he would take the steps that he could, that he was completely within his power to do. So, yeah, he's pro-insurrection, and so is the Republican Party. For a minute, they thought the Trumpers might think it was going too far. Ha! Maybe, but only in the sense that, like, oh no, how is this going to look like for us? But in reality, I mean, they didn't really do, anything. As far as pushing back on any of this, save but like a handful of them, the Republican Party as a whole is pretty much on the same, in lockstep. The nation's largest annual conference for millennial and Gen Z conservatives, America Fast, drew tens of thousands of attendees who seem divided on who should win the 2024 nomination. A troubling time for the former president. Yeah. I mean, we've seen this. This continues a trend that if DeSantis throws his hat in the ring, he might win. And the problem with that is that he might win a general election, which is far worse than Trump, which is far worse. That should be alarming. If we have to see a DeSantis versus Biden matchup. Not good. Not good. That would be the worst case scenario because DeSantis actually has a chance to win. Or at least DeSantis has a better chance of winning than Trump does. And that should worry people. Not only does DeSantis have a better chance of winning the general election than the Trump candidacy would, but also DeSantis is even worse when it comes to policies. Like DeSantis would have much more success in enacting these policies. I know Orange Man bad and all, but do y'all really think that anything will happen to him when he's part of the Capitol owning class plus every Orange Man bad? Is this like some like kind of like meme? Orange Man bad, yes, he's a fascist, and yes, he has absolutely the ability to win a general election. Not that he has a chance of winning a general elections, and he is currently a candidate in said general election. What the fuck? Plus, every president has done shit worth being arrested and removed and never goes anywhere. Do you think anything will happen to him when he's part of the Capitol owning class? Do I think that anything will happen to him? I don't know. He said that lack of organized effort to support Trump in his 2024 campaign at such a massive event is telling that the former president has become the entertainer who never updated his act and became a bore. Well, I mean, yeah, I don't know. Too bad he doesn't have all the skeletons that DeSantis, that Santos has. Like, though, why the New York Times waited after all the midterms to expose this guy? Wait, expose who? DeSantis? I don't know. The point being is that, yeah, in a matchup between Trump and DeSantis, it seems like Trump has, his edge has diminished. And it seems like DeSantis is, has the capability of not only winning the primary, but also the general election. He's almost like Reagan, where you can do so much harm and still be liked. Yeah. DeSantis is an actual threat. A new Republican from NY who called for the TikTok ban. Oh. If Trump was not made famous by Hollywood, I would have been a Trumper, so I blame Hollywood. Okay, that's kind of weird. Imagine having politics where whether or not a famous person was made by... What does that even mean? Anyways, yeah, TLDR, DeSantis is a real threat. Yes, I agree with the statement. He's almost like Reagan, where he can actually do so much harm and still be like, yes. I would almost argue he's even worse because he's younger and he's sharper. I would almost argue he's even more dangerous. But yeah, I get the logic sits. All right, yeah, that works for me. TLDR, it seems like the January 6th committee has referred 4 items to the Justice Department. Whether or not anything happens is, as Anna K said, it remains to be seen. Whether or not anything actually happens, we don't know. We don't know. We still have the case going on in Georgia. Who knows? Because Trump would not be president if he was not in Home Alone or on The Simpsons or any other TV. Trump is bait and people took it. I guess. Yeah, maybe. All right. Shifting gears again. Because we've got to get through some of these. It's the obvious thing. The White House tries a new tack to combat homelessness. All right. More people than ever are being moved out of homelessness in the U.S. Just over 900,000 a year on average. Hey guys, it's working. Capitalism, it's working, isn't it so great? A year on average since 2017. The problem is that about the same number or more have lost housing in the past few years. Biden administration's latest plan to fight the homelessness crisis, released on Monday, calls for more action to keep people from losing their homes in the first place. We've gotten very good at providing supportive housing for people, said Jeff Olivet. We've just not done a great job as a nation of turning off the faucet. Press X to doubt. That new plan includes range wave boosts the supply of affordable housing, as well as increase the number of emergency shelters and support programs. But its biggest challenge is the systemic prevention of homelessness, focusing on those who are struggling to keep them from losing their house. It sets an ambitious goal to reduce the number of unsheltered people by 25% in 2025, and calls on states and local governments to use this as a model. After a steady rise in 2016, the number of people experiencing homelessness has stabilized. According to the data released on Monday, they were 582,462 on a single night in January this year. Sheesh. According to the Department of Housing and Urban Development, that's only slightly more than previous full count in 2020 before the pandemic disrupted this process. Over the course of this year, more than 1 million individuals and families were without housing at some point, and they were disproportionately people of color, a disparity the plan aims to address. Most individuals were out in the street rather than in shelters, a shift that's raised awareness on the crisis, but also led to more communities cracking down on encampments and criminalizing sleeping or even sitting in certain public spaces. I'm being no fault evicted and don't make enough to apply for most places, still hoping. Sheesh. Sorry, SB Harkin. Olivet and local advocates credit the array of federal financial help during the pandemic for preventing a sharp spike in homelessness, but with much of that aid now gone, they warn the numbers might go up again. The data also shows a big difference among certain groups. The number of unhoused veterans, families, and youths are down. The number of single adults and those with disabilities are up. Yikes. Where we invest, we see success. Where we don't invest, that's where we see the numbers rising. Yeah, I mean, like, if you pour money, into the proper programs that actually help people, yeah, you're going to see positive numbers. No, Trump became president because the U.S. became violently polarized after the Vietnam Cold War and the conflicts in the Middle East. Your average person either became disillusioned with the U.S. or ate propaganda up to have something to believe in. Democrats decided to latch onto really popular social and cultural policies, but actually use them to F over people, which then pushed them to the right, who ran off caring about your dollar and not telling you that you're a problem. I mean, like, yeah, there's certain, like, there's a certain aspect to that, yes. Then from there, the right radicalized their base and slowly made them allow hate. Yeah, but that's always been, like, the project, right? But yes, I think that the pipeline, I think that there is an aspect of that, yes. I think there's an aspect of that, too, that of what you're referencing, yes. Paul Downey has worked as an advocate fighting homelessness for 3 decades. His focus has always been how to help those people on the streets get into a shelter, get service, and get back into permanent housing. What there hasn't been is a lot of discussion about how we stop it occurring from the first place. All right, so give me fucking plans. All right, what is it? The vast majority said here. Now both city have a pilot program to subsidize rent for at-risk seniors. Oh, so like they just like went full circle and being like, oh yeah, yeah. So we're gonna do what effectively is like a UBI, effectively a small UBI. So that's the big plan. A UBI rent subsidy. Now here's the question: like, why not just rent? Why are we effectively so giving this money to landlords? Subsidizing and price gouging landlords is all true. That's the 200D chess move. Everyone knows how to stop homelessness. You need to socialize housing to some degree. You abolish apartments and put price control on housing and get rid of single-family zoning. But to do this, you must admit that capitalism failed to house people, so they will slap a band-aid instead of actually fixing the problem. True! Trump won 2016 because of Twitter and Celebrity Apprentice TV series, and Hillary seemed too proud and formal. No, I think that's a very rose-colored glasses way of viewing that election. No, I think we're missing a whole plethora of things. It wasn't just Twitter and the Celebrity Apprentice status. And Hillary definitely wasn't. She didn't lose because she was too proud or too formal. 100%. I don't think that's a very rose-colored glasses way of viewing this. Yeah. I'm not being evicted because I can't pay. It's during a housing crisis is the issue. The systemic failures will make it nearly impossible to find a place here. Yeah, Jesus Christ, SV Harkin. Edited for time and chat. Well, yeah, I mean, like, I could make it, the TLDR is, like, not only did Hillary a bad candidate, but she also had monumental failures on the campaign trail. And, like, you know, Trump was like the person that everyone thought, like, he was just a clown that had no shot in hell, completely underestimated. But yeah, wild that that even was the scenario in the first place, to be quite frank. Jesus, SV Harkin. I have a backup in my cousin's garage, but I will have to relocate and lose my job at MIT. Sheesh. Yikes. Trump was a people's person in a way. His enemies thought he wasn't a threat, and the people that support him saw an anti-establishment since everyone in power that has been effing this. Yeah, but like the funny part is like, yeah, while he presented himself as some kind of anti-establishment, trying to swap. In reality, he was a billionaire. Like, how did people not put two and two together? A billionaire telling you that he's that he's anti-establishment while like having a history of donating to both parties. Okay, dude. An oligarch telling you that we need to drain the swamp. Yeah. Cool. A con man, true. Con man through and through. From beginning to end. Capitalism tells you that being a billionaire means you are good and earned it and have skills. True! So the TLDR, this is the plan. They're going to try to do some kind of UBI to help subsidize like landlords, but okay. The problem is the $2,000 rent. Why is it $2,000 to rent? Why are there no houses? Why are people not able to actually own their own homes? That's the problem. Landlords would just take it and raise it higher and higher and price out the same people. Yep. Our propaganda about capitalism made people blind to the fact that Trump is just one of them. Maybe. No, I think it's not just that. People, I don't know, they just completely fell for it, I guess, for his propaganda. Not just like, never mind the problems, the whole like capitalism, issue. Capitalism has never convinced me housing isn't a human right. True. Food, housing, education, healthcare. This is the way. This is the way. But identifying those most at risk for losing housing can be a major challenge. Well, yeah, no shit. Here, let me help you with that. Who is at most risk for losing housing? Generally speaking, poor people. Our minimum, our wages are stagnant. The cost of living continues. Under this system, we've allowed the commodification of something so simple like housing, or not simple, but like of something so crucial like housing. Yeah, no shit, we find ourselves in this situation. Trump isn't a capitalist? No, yes, he is. He absolutely is. He's a narcissist with low empathy and seems sadistic and megalomaniac. A lot of folks are attracted to authoritarians. Yes, but he's definitely a capitalist. Yeah, he definitely has. He might be a failed capitalist, or not, but a capitalist nonetheless. It's okay, the solution to own nothing and be homeless, save up for like 10 years, and then retire in a third world country and have up the economy. True. All right. So the solution is to subsidize landlords. Got it. We're going to pay attention to this as it continues. Climate negligence bill could let New Yorkers sue fossil fuel companies. So basically, you could actually sue damages. You could actually sue the fossil fuel industry for damages because of their products. The important part is, if this ends up holding, and the irony of it is that it's kind of modeled after the Texas abortion law. But if it ends up holding, Trump isn't a capitalist is the funniest thing I've heard. Thanks, I needed a good chuckle. Yeah, no, Trump is 100% a capitalist. They're like, yeah, 100%. It may be a failed capitalist, but nonetheless, Texas's law empowering private citizens to sue people who aid and abet abortions has opened the door for New York to make this law and open the door to private citizens suing the fossil fuel industry for climate change, which hopefully, if this law ends up succeeding, maybe more states might pursue this as a roadmap. In which case, hey, that's a good thing. A small W, but a W nonetheless. So we'll continue to follow up on this as more and more avenues begin to open up in the legal system against the fossil fuel industry. Maybe one day we'll find ourselves at a point of reckoning. Or I should say, maybe one day these fossil fuel companies will find themselves at a point of reckoning to the effect of like the tobacco industry. Maybe one day we'll find ourselves at that point. And to piggyback off this, more than 190 countries signed landmark agreement to halt the biodiversity crisis. more than 190 countries have adopted a sweeping agreement to protect nature at the United Nations Biodiversity Conference in Montreal. The gavel went down in the early hours of Monday on an agreement which includes 23 targets aimed at halting the biodiversity crisis, including a pledge to protect 30% of land and ocean by 2030. Only 17% of land and 10% of oceans are currently considered protected. Campaigners have hailed it as a major milestone for conservation, for conserving complex and fragile ecosystems on which everyone depends. I think that this is a TLDR. Essentially, what we would be doing if this pans out is doubling the amount of protected areas, which is incredibly important. We depend on these ecosystems functioning. We depend on the planet's ecosystems functioning for us to have food, for us to be able to get resources. So it would stand to reason that we would be doing even more to try to protect it. So the TLDR of this entire article is whether or not we actually will make the necessary steps to make this happen. Otherwise, treaties, agreements mean nothing. Treaties, agreements, fancy PR stunts don't really mean anything if there is no policy or plan to put it into effect. His motivation is pathological. That's why he even fails at capitalism. Yeah, I mean, sure. I could agree with that. This agreement represents a major milestone for the conservation of our natural world, but biodiversity has never been so high on the political and business agenda. This is incredibly important. As well as the pledge to protect nearly 1/3 of land, freshwater, and sea by 2030, the framework has also included an agreement to reform $500 billion of subsidies that are harmful to nature and increase biodiversity financing to developing countries. So, we'll see. While many have welcomed the agreement, there are warnings of proof of success will be in how this agreement is enacted. Yeah, that's the first question that I have. It can be undermined by slow implementation and failure to mobilize the promised resources. This agreement has also been criticized for lacking of quantifiable pledges and around reducing production and consumption, which are key drivers of biodiversity loss. Yeah, and to top it off, they're not even legally binding. So we'll see if anything actually makes, because you can make all these beautiful summits and all these 190 countries can sign all this, but there's no legally binding document. There's no nothing. There's no anything. Just nice. To put it a different way, thoughts and prayers. To put it a different way, thoughts and prayers. We will see. Not that this isn't good. Not that this isn't good. I mean, obviously, we need to bring up the problems of biodiversity and the conservation of complex and fragile ecosystems that we all depend on to fucking live, like for food and whatnot, and other resources. That does need to be conserved and that does need to be protected. But I just don't trust, words. I just don't trust words. Words from politicians. That's the problem. All right, folks. We did it. We got to the end. I gotta get going because I'm starving. Folks, if you enjoyed the content, don't forget to hit the follow button. It's right there. It's right there. I promise. It's right there. Hit the follow button. You get 5 free emotes, including 2 Vaquita the cat emotes. One of which was actually made by Cheeseburger Freedom Eagle, who was here in chat. Also, if you want to support the channel in ways that don't require any monetary incentive, why don't you head on over to the YouTube channel, hit the big red subscribe button, and spread the word far and wide. I'm always here when you always leave when I get here. Yeah, my bad. And okay, 5 p.m. Eastern, and then I usually cut it off at like 2.5 hours. So stop running away and debate me in the marketplace of ideas, you socialist lib. True. All right. I gotta get out of here. Yes, there it is. Cheeseburger Freedom Eagle. Thank you so much for that emote. It's all here for the world to see. I appreciate that. You see, they even got the little creator thingy. I appreciate that. Thank you guys so much. Spread it forward. Thank you for hanging out in the chat. Everyone else, thank you so much. Thank you to Mayhem Hippie for the subscriptions. Thank you for all the follows and biddies. Alio with the biddies. Thank you so much. Please make sure you go check out twitch.tv/AlioShare and twitch.tv/Surfer McGritty, who was here earlier. Ground Level News also, who was here earlier. I'm trying to remember everybody. Stony Progressive, I think you stream as well. So just make sure I think I got everybody. Thank you for the content. No, thank you for hanging out. I appreciate it. It is about to, on the dot, 7:30. Look at that. I appreciate you guys. Make sure, again, follow, do all the fancy social media stuff. I appreciate you guys. You guys are what makes this channel grow. Thank you guys. Please stay safe. Please take care of each other. I love you all, and I hope to see you guys in the next one tomorrow, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. See ya. We're heading out in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. See ya.